They've been spending most of their lives living in a striker's paradise. We have former Tiger Muay Thai striking coaches squaring off ranked lightweights in the UFC in this co-main event. Thank goodness it's only 3 rounds. Brad Quake Riddell taking on Rafael Fiziev. And as far as their backgrounds go, very, very similar past. These guys have fought in the biggest of Muay Thai stadiums. They have headline as far as exactly what they can do. And we've seen those primary skill sets play out in the UFC to great effect. For Rafael Fiziev, he loses to Magomed Mustafayev, and then he racks off 4 big wins. You want the names? I'll give them to you. He beats Alex White. He beats Mark Chikese. He beats Renato Moicano. Not only beats him, he knocks him out. And then he beat Bobby Green in his last fight. That fight giving a lot of people pause, and we'll talk about that one later on. For Brad Riddell, he's been around, not as many fights in the UFC, but he beats Jamie Mullarkey in an all-timer, beats Magomed Mustafayev by split decision, beats Lecco, Alex De Silva, and his last time out, he beats Drew Dober. You talk about the skill gap for Fiziev. You look at the way that he's fought out from Mustafayev to his last fight against Bobby Green. Big names. You talk about it for Riddell. Decent names, but to go from Alex De Silva to then his last fight against Drew Dober, that's a giant jump in competition in a stacked division. Matt, since this fight was announced, people hit me up at Craig Allen FNP all over Twitter, Instagram, whatever, sending me the fact that this fight's going to happen. I couldn't be more excited. Like, I can't believe this is going to happen, and I won't believe it until these guys make the walk, and then they shut the door, and then they do the introductions, and then they start fighting. Because, listen, I am so... This is Christmas came early for me.
This is a really fun fight, and this is a personal fight for both guys, because whoever wins has legitimate bragging rights of like, hey, I'm not only the better fighter, I'm the better coach too, and better coach at a similar gym, or at the same gym at one point. This is very weird though, and I might get pushback for this, but these guys don't strike in a similar way at all. Like, just because they both do Muay Thai doesn't mean they both express that Muay Thai in the same way, and I'm gonna get a little like... We're going to go into the mindset here for a second, but I always go into... Matt Brown said this about... he was on the Joe Rogan podcast, which I don't watch, but I really like Matt Brown, so of course I'm going to listen. And what Matt Brown said has always stuck with me. He goes, you don't practice mixed martial arts. You practice mixed martial skills. How you do them is you doing MMA. Like... And I kind of apply that to these guys. Like, both these guys practice skill sets in Muay Thai, but they express that Muay Thai in very different ways. For Riddell, he's almost more of a traditional boxer the way he does fight. He's going to march you down. He has a much higher guard than Fiziev, and he's much less reliant on his own kicking offense to really start to go downhill and land with his combinations. Whereas Fiziev, he's a much rangier striker. He likes to bounce a lot more, especially when he is sort of at that medium range where neither guy is doing much. He bounces a lot more, and he throws a lot more kicks too, and that's going to be the really interesting thing about this fight. I know we're going to talk about leg kicks a lot more when we get to the main event later on, but Fiziev is someone who will throw a lot of kicks offensively early on in a fight. And I know you're going to want to get to the Bobby Green performance here in a second, so I guess I'll lead it in with this. He threw a lot of kicks against Bobby Green early. They were great. They landed. They looked really good. What's the problem with throwing a lot of kicks in a fight? They drain your gas tank like few other things do. And what happened to Fiziev against Bobby Green?
This is all anybody's going to talk about. I'm going to talk about the votes that we have out there in the YouTube community tab. I will read your comments. Trust me, they're coming. But this is all I have to say about Fiziev. Does he have a bad gas tank? Sometimes. That's the weird thing. Sometimes. Look at the fight that he had against Mark Chikese. Striking totals round by round. Round 1, 21 strikes. Round 2, 28 strikes. Round 3, 33 strikes. Against Bobby Green, round 1, 25 strikes. Round 3, 36 strikes. Round 4, 43 strikes. But he got tired. What? That doesn't compute.
But stats don't always tell the full picture of the
Exactly.
fight.
If you look at the way that Fiziev fights, he's throwing spinning wheel kicks. He's throwing leg kicks. He's throwing power hooks. And they land early. But then as the fight goes on, his hands start to go down, and his breathing starts to be more in his stomach, and he really starts to slow down, throw at a more labored pace, still accurate with his shots, but he does slow down and let the other fighter creep in the second round and the third round, or at least create the doubt in your mind, my mind, and the judges' minds as well.
Now, I have a bit of a hot take that I want to get your opinion on, because I know you're a bit outspoken. The Bobby Green fight was very close. I don't know. Fiziev won that fight, though,
yeah,
right?
I thought Fiziev won it, yep.
I think Drew Dober has a real argument for beating Brad Riddell in their last fight. I really do. I know a lot of people aren't going to agree with me on this one. Drew Dober, right after the fight, had put out a tweet. And he was like, listen, I just don't understand how I lost it. It was as close to a fight as you can get. Like, he rocks Brad Riddell multiple times throughout that fight. Like, genuinely hurts him on the feet. And that's not really something a lot of people thought they would have seen. Like, Riddell's this really credited Muay Thai practitioner. He's got great boxing. He's got a great chin. But when Dober made that fight ugly, and when he did get on the inside, he was able to hurt Riddell with power shots. And this is another thing I always go back to when we break down a Brad Riddell fight. He's not big for the weight class, but this weight cut is hard on him. Like, it really is. And I don't understand weight cutting. I'll be the first one to admit it. Like, Max Holloway can look awful the day before a fight, show up the next day and throw 1,000 strikes and act like it never affected him. Brad Riddell cannot look like that big of a lightweight, but you always hear the stories like, oh, there's 5 minutes left, like, for the weigh-in window, and Brad Riddell still hasn't weighed in, and oh, like, this one was really hard compared to the last ones. Like, there's always an oh, by the way, with Brad Riddell weighing in, and that does worry me, because that does affect your chin, and maybe Drew Dober can't put you down with his power when you do have a limited capacity to absorb a shot, but if Fiziev gets on the inside early in a fight and throws one of those like body head combos similar to what he was able to do against Moicano, you don't want to have a bad weight cut, especially in the first round of that fight. And I'm going to reinforce a point that you had made. It is interesting. They are very different at the start of a fight in the way that they do fight. Fiziev starts to turn into Brad Riddell, though, the later the fight goes. He does become much more boxing-oriented, and he does forget a lot of his kicks, and that's the way I look at this fight. I think Fiziev's going to win this fight as long as he stays a Muay Thai fighter. When he becomes a boxer, that's when I think Brad Riddell can start to take over, because Riddell is always that same consistent fighter. Does he fight at a crazy pace? Not really. He's just very consistent. I always use Ian Heinisch as my example before his recent struggles, but you get the idea. Just as a fighter who, from round 1 to round 3, no matter what the pace of the fight is, he's still going to look like pretty much the exact same guy. Riddell has that kind of cardio, whereas Fiziev, he looks like he can go Super Saiyan that first round, but then he looks kind of average in the third. So more than any other fight on this card, I really do feel like cardio plays a key.
Fight of the night bonuses, 2 of them for each guy. For Fiziev against Bobby Green, UFC 265, that was a fight of the night. Great and fight. At UFC Fight Night, Figueiredo versus Benavidez 2, we got a fight of the night against Mark Chikasi. If you look at it for Brad Riddell, fight of the night in his last fight against Drew Dober, fight of the night in his debut against Jamie Mallory. He also got rocked in that fight. But when I look at this fight, yeah, the one big X factor is the fact that Brad Riddell, not just his last fight where he did somehow get 5 takedowns on
Dober
Drew Dober.
Pop up immediately, though.
But the weird thing is, sometimes Riddell will engage in the grappling. He's not great defensively, but he also pops back up to his feet. But he will implement it into his game. Fiziev's not going for takedowns, and he stuffs every single one of them. So it'll be interesting to see how it works out for him, because for Fiziev, he went from Tiger Muay Thai to Sanford MMA, and that's kind of the real X factor. I've seen a lot of pictures on the Instagrams of Fiziev training with a whole litany of fighters in the lower weight classes, even 170 and down below. And I've also seen a lot of, their newer coach and Nick Lentz in a lot of those. So I think Nick Lentz is a great guy for a fight like this, because you're going to train those defensive chops. You're already a good striker. If Brad Riddell, even there's a shout of a doubt that he's going to go for a takedown attempt, I think Fiziev, round 1, great takedown defense. Round 2, round 3, it's been there, so I have no reason to doubt it. That's the only thing that I'll say. It's been there, tried and true and tested for all 3 rounds. It's just, can Fiziev keep a pace for 3? Because I know Riddell can. I know he can. So, Matt, this is where we're going to throw it on over to everybody in the YouTube community tab, because I want to get their point of view. I threw it out there today. Ranked Strikers Paradise with bragging rights on the line. It's like I started this video that way. UFC Vegas 44 co-main. Who have you got? 1,000 votes. 53% Fiziev, 47% Riddell. So let's throw it on over to you. You guys make this show happen. From our first commenter, Ishin, saying, pretty sure Riddell wins, but Fiziev is a beast. He is. Next one, don't understand how Riddell is an underdog. Seems like it'll be a clear 29-28 Riddell. Fiziev starts strong, then gasses, and Riddell starts slow, but gets better as the fight goes on. We'll give it to a couple more, Matt. Theodore Esney is saying, Fiziev gassed so bad after round 1 and round 2. Having cardio in the lightweight division is a huge no-no, even if you have power. We'll go to another one. Akash Deep saying, banger of a fight. I got Fiziev, but should be an amazing night. They continue on, and if I didn't read your comment, I appreciate all of them, and I'll talk about the YouTube community tab for our main event as well. But Matt, in this fight, It seems like everybody is talking about Fiziev's cardio. It was a giant highlight in his last fight. It seems like the only talking point. Can you talk me away from that in this one?
Whoever breaks character first is going to lose. If Brad Riddell shoots for a takedown before Fiziev turns into a boxer, then I think Brad Riddell's going to lose. Like, if the earlier Riddell shoots for a takedown, the more likely I think he's going to lose the fight. Because this is the problem. You have two guys who are both Muay Thai coaches, who both coached at the exact same place. They're going to want the bragging rights of outstriking their opponent. Brad Riddell's not coming into this fight thinking I'm going to take down Fiziev and just try to muster out, like, some kind of wrestling win. Like, I really do think there's going to be some bravado behind both guys' mindset to this, and I really like Fiziev in this matchup. Speed kills in MMA, and I think Fiziev is the much faster fighter. I really do. Like, you look at some of Fiziev's combinations, especially in tight, he lights guys up. Bobby Green has some of the best defensive boxing in the UFC, and when Fiziev was on the inside against him, he made him look like he didn't even belong there. Now, yes, when Green was able to start crashing forward and just kind of sort of being when he became unorthodox, he was having success. But that was the big key to that fight. When Green was technical, he was struggling. When he made it ugly, that's when he was able to have success. I don't know if that's part of Brad Riddell's game. I think no matter what, he's going to try to stay technical. And if he does shoot for takedowns, it's because there's something on the feet that he's seeing that he's not liking. So, against my better judgment, because I normally don't like picking guys who do seem to have the worst cardio out of the two, I like Fiziev. I think if he can go with the leg kicks early, that's going to take some of the oomph out of Brad Riddell's game, and I think Fiziev goes to the body enough to even out some of the cardio. When you think about Fiziev at his best, again, it's not just the leg kicks, it's not just the left hook. He goes to the body a lot, and I think those strikes are going to be open against Riddell.
I've seen Riddell get rocked and cracked. Not to say that Mallory's not a bad fighter. Not to say that, hell, Drew Dober's good. Like, these guys are good fighters, but I've seen Riddell get cracked. I've seen Fiziev get finished by Magomed Mustafayev, but personally, I think very highly of him. So it is a weird one. There's so many comparables, you know, Tiger Muay Thai notwithstanding. I like Fiziev ever so slightly, but if you have a fight on this card where you're going, man, I gotta tell all my friends about it, I gotta have the popcorn ready. I might even go to the theater and buy a big bag of popcorn. I'll spend $20 in gas.
I'm just gonna rent out a whole theater for himself to watch this fight.
I might, and I'm gonna look like Shia LaBeouf watching his own movies. I'm gonna have tears going down my face watching this fight. You have no idea how excited about this one.
Brad Riddell versus Rafael Fiziev. Make a grown man cry.
And I mean, like, again, we do this every week. Honest to goodness, I don't care who wins.
It's just a great fight.
I'm just there for the fight. I've got Kyrgyzstan's Rafael Fiziev to get the win, but if you tell me that New Zealand's Brad Riddell's going to get it, awesome. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from everybody down below in the comments section. We do our best to respond and bring them up in the shows as well. You can find us at Fight Night Picks on Instagram, Twitter, at Craig Allen FNP, at Matt Allen FNP. Enjoy your weekend. Heck of a fight. And oh, by the way, the main event's pretty good too. You're going to want to stick around for that. Rob Font taking on Jose Aldo. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. And as we always say, let's get into it.